have I got a video for you. It's the end of the year, and what do you think that means? Well, stick around and I'll show you.
The singing crafty crafter living in Florida, thankful for another year of crafting for my besties. Here's my tops from 2025. Enjoy.
All right, Happy New Year to all my besties. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Here's our song, sing along. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of auld lang syne? For auld lang syne, my dear, for auld lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for auld lang syne. Now don't forget, somewhere in this video you're going to get some trivia on that very famous song. Alright, but this video is about end of the year, and at the end of the year, all of us crafters tend to do a little video for you of our top crafts, our favorite crafts, all our crafts, whatever it may be. I chose my top favorite crafts. So there's only 4 of them, and they are the same kind of craft. Now, for those of you that follow me, know we started out in Mexico, Cabo San Lucas. We ended up traveling all over the Midwest. In the later part of the year, we're in Florida. Where will we go in 2026? Gosh, we don't even know. But we're starting it in Florida. And as I was watching these videos and putting this together, I was like, oh, I really want to make some more of those. But I'm in an RV, so really have to downsize my things. So, I forgot to have right here. So, this might be your clue as to what you're going to see today, and I have a little small one here I'm hoping to create sometime this year. All right, here they are, my 4 top crafts from 2025. Don't forget trivia somewhere in here on Auld Lang Syne, and I'll catch you at the end. And yes, it's a little bit longer video because that's what happens when we do these, but I think you're going to enjoy. Play it at double speed. I don't care. I'll sound like a mouse. Thanks. Watch this. I'll be back. Make my little window. Now I'm not going to show you every little thing that I cut out. This is just sort of an overview because this is a very long project. But basically I cut out my circle, and then I cut the inside out of it to form a little miniature cardboard wreath. And then I did the same thing with the door and with my 2 windows. I just cut out my frames. And once I had my frames all laid out, I took bamboo sticks, which you're going to see here in a second, and I glued the cross beams on all of my windows with little bamboo sticks. And they are not cut exact. I'm going to glue them down, and then I trimmed them. So I do that with the door, the 2 windows, and this little round window. So I'm just gluing my bamboo sticks on. I put clothespins on them, let them dry, and then I trim them. Now this is cardboard. I took the peeled the top off of it so we had the rolly part, and I rolled it, glued it together to make my columns. Now I'm going to take my first Band-Aids, and we're going to wrap all of my windows and doors with this lightest colored, so it's my trim color on my house, right? And it just took multiple Band-Aids because I was cutting just the sides off and the middle part keeping off in another pile to use later on in the project. So now I've taken my coffee stain, and we're going to darken those bamboo skewers up a little bit to make them more cohesive in color to the house, because we're making a house, in case you didn't know. Now I've taken my white glue and I painted a big blob on there because that's going to become the window glass on my door, and the white glue, when it dries, is going to give us a really cool ripply sort of effect like old glass. And then I put rubber bands on it, and I did that with all of my 2 windows on the side. Now I'm mixing water and white glue, and I'm going to grab some dryer sheets right there, more trash, and I'm going to cut them up into little pieces, and I'm going to decoupage basically my base for my house right there. So I'm cutting little pieces up, and then I douse them in my water and glue. Then I put glue all over the base of this, and then I decoupage it. Now I'm showing you this just because this is going to become the base of the house, so it's kind of important to see kind of how I did that. You could have just painted this, but I wanted some texture. because I'm going to paint this green, and I'm going to paint the step part of it stone, faux stone finish on it. I didn't put any in this one portion there because that's where I'm going to glue the bottle down. All right, now I'm going to cut the hole out for my little window, and I've already made sort of the attic part of my house right there. And how I did the stained glass, this is a piece of dryer sheet, and I take markers, I just dabbed on it, and then you take rubbing alcohol and you drip the rubbing alcohol on it, and it rubs all the colors together, and it gave me a faux stained glass look, which is going to be our upper window there. And then I'm going to glue that onto the back of it. There we go. And see, now we have like this little stained glass. After it dried, I trimmed it, of course. And then this is one side of my roof for the top, and I'm just showing it done, and now I'm going to show you how I did it. So I took Band-Aids. Again, we're not using the center part of the Band-Aid, we're just using the arms, so to speak, right, the sticky part, cutting that off and building it just like shutters on a roof, shingles on a roof. Now I'm going to paint the underside and the sides because we want all of these areas painted. And now I've got my door on there, my windows on there, and we're going to go back to the base. Painting this a green, and this is just a heavy green color. And these are the centers of the Band-Aids, which I've taken them and I'm going to cut it like in the shape of a rock. I'm just going around each edge of these and cutting them in different shapes because I'm going to build my rock portion of the house. Now I'm not doing the whole bottle. I'm going up about maybe 33%, a third of the way up the bottle, and we're just about halfway through our windows. And I'm going to build my blocks, my rock portion of the house all the way around. Now this took a lot of glue. I'm painting and sticking and painting and sticking, and a lot of patience is required. And you have to go back and press them down. As these are, the reason the middle part works so well too is because they're a little bit thicker, so it gave you more dimension on the sides. And I would cut to fit pieces in where I needed smaller pieces. All right, then I also did that on the attic portion of it, put the rock on there. And now I'm going to glue this to the bottle. Mostly I used just white glue, you guys, and that worked pretty well. Very well, not pretty well, very well. So I'm gluing that on. I'm going to let that dry. I had to leave this for lots of periods of time to dry. And now I've mixed sort of a tan and a white color. Again, I'm not mixing it very well because I tell you this all the time because I like the dimension of multiple colors showing through as I'm painting. And this is a lighter color than the brick, but everything, all the colors are cohesive, and it's really starting to take shape now. But I'm not doing the very neck of it because that's going to be my chimney. I'm just going around, getting that all painted in. I take a little bit of the darker and dab it in there for some more dimension. It very much looks like old stucco, doesn't it? Yeah, pretty cool. And now, where do I go next? I think I go into the rocks, and I'm just taking the backside of a paintbrush and tapping it into the glass area in between the rocks. And this is a colored pencil, and I'm just adding some shadowing onto my rooftop. See the difference there? Yeah, very effective. It made it look more like shingles. Now I'm going to glue the roof on top of my little attic jet out here. So I just pop glue on there, and then I had to hold it there for a little bit, and then I realized, oh, I think I have the wrong sides on the wrong way, so flip it over. Yep, that fits better. And then again, I had to let that dry, right? So I'm constantly letting things dry. Those two pieces of the roof, I put packing tape to hold them together while I got it situated on there, because I'm going to put a little dowel in there that's actually going to hold it all together. But this gave me how much of the top that I needed to paint black for the chimney. And then I bled it over onto the roof, just like normal tar on a roof would do, right? Now I'm going to run a bead of glue in between the crevices on my roofs, and I'm dropping this little dowel in here. By the way, these are the skewers that Marcus uses for his Sunday Bloody Marys, and I save them, of course. So I get those on there, and then I have to let that dry. Like, there was so much letting this dry. But once I have those on, I do go back, and I'm not sure I show it, but I do paint them a dark brown. And I'm doing lots of shadowing as I'm going. Like, the brush would have some black paint left on it, but like, oh yeah, let's dirty up the roof a little bit. Now I'm going to paint the stone on my step. So I go all white, cover the whole thing in white, and then I take black, gray, and silver, pounce, pounce, pounce. And I am just continuing to do this because it's layer, 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 layer. I tell you guys this all the time when painting, especially faux surfaces. It's all about layering. And the more I layer and the more I do, the more it starts to look like stone. And by the time it's all dry, it definitely looks like concrete stone. Now, once I had done my first layer of paint in between the rocks, now I'm taking a heavier, thicker in between to fill that all in. And then Marcus helped me put my glue on the glass and put it down, and then we let it dry overnight. And these are my pillars. I've got to measure, and I'm going to cut them down to the right size, and I'm going to paint them in that same dark brown that I've painted the very top pillars or dowels on the roofs that you can see right there. And by the way, the painting is messy, but it doesn't matter because I know I'm going to be putting moss all over this. Paint those. I'm going to glue those in. And I do put a doorknob on this at one point, by the way, which I don't show it, but it's a really pretty little bead, which we've got right here. Actually, I am showing it. This little doorknob, I had to just pop some of the adhesive on there and then hold it on there for a while and wait for it to dry. Everything was wait for it to dry. Now I'm going to make my moss, but I'm not going to show you putting the moss on, but I'm just going to show you what I did. This is, I took white glue and paint, and this is laundry lint, and then I just squeezed it out, laid it out, dried it out in the sun, and then I put it in a bowl. I cut it up really finely, mixed it with coffee grinds, and then I mixed that with white glue and water and put moss all over my house, which you will see right here. I hope you guys love this. I think it came out absolutely stunning, and there's my moss. See it? Coffee grinds, laundry lint.
Love to my besties. There is singing. Listen for the music trivia. Let's get creative. Here's some yarn. There is singing.
The kicker that we're all going to talk about, and I think I'm going to start like this whole new thing doing bottles. So because of course in Mexico here I'm doing the recycling, repurposing, blah, 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 trash, whatever. And so I'm in love with this piece. Marcus is in love with this piece. Because you guys, can we just really talk about the use of Band-Aids on this? So this all started, I walked into a store immediately after they said Band-Aids was one of the items. And lo and behold, they had the tri-colored band. These are like the flesh-colored Band-Aids. Tri-colored, I don't want to say tri. I bought 3 colors, that's why I said tri. But the flesh-colored Band-Aids. And so I was like, oh, I'll get different colors. And I was thinking I would do a canvas and ombre the colors. And then all of a sudden I looked at them and I was like, yeah, but it looks like shingles. And then that took me down this road. But the best part, I think about it. So I was just gonna do the shingles. And then I had the middle part. And how cool are the stones on the side of this house that are the center part of the Band-Aid? You guys, are you, oh, by the way, newspaper, Marcus's idea. Yeah, and doesn't this look like stone? So I had to cut so much out of this because this was a 2-day project. And so for instance, see all my moss? This was, I didn't end up showing the whole thing, but I kind of showed you what the mixture was. This is lint from my dryer, which is, so is this, no, that's cotton ball. Lint from the dryer, and I like doused it and dried it out, and then coffee grinds. And the reason I use the coffee grinds is because coffee grinds give me the dark effect. You know how moss has little holes in it? So I couldn't really recreate that, but I could recreate the look of it with dark, and so the coffee grinds did that. I'm having a lot of fun coming up with different ways to use different items, but I mean, come on, just check this thing out, right? This is raffia, which was what was the dice that I got in the mail. That was the bow on it. I reused that. These are just some pics, which I painted these so that they would be a little bit darker. This is a little stained glass window right there, which I sort of showed that. Can you guys see the frosted effect on the glass in the front door? That's just by using white glue, and you paint it on super thick, and then it dries and it gives you like this, like a frosted or a, you know, I don't know, how do you say that kind of glass, but, well, like the old glass that would have the bubbles in it. It's kind of like that. And then, I mean, look at like my moss and the stones. I'm loving the stones. Even the back, this is my battery pack, but even the back. And then in the front, there's a little bear that's in the glass on this bottle, and I was like, I might as well just put him in there too. Right? Are you guys just, okay, I'm blown away, and I made it. I'm like, this is so cute. And thank you again, Marcus, for the little newspaper on there. This is inside out cardboard that I rolled to make my columns. Band-Aids. Band-Aids. Now you can see them when I say it, right? Band-Aids. I think I'm gonna start doing bottles. And I told Marcus, I go, maybe I'm just gonna go down this whole bottle thing, because of course there's endless bottles. You can go to any bar and they'll probably give you their bottles because they have to get rid of them. And I was like, maybe it'd just be a signature thing. I'll always put something random on the front porch. Like this time it was rolled up newspaper. Okay. To the corrugated little section like that, you just spritz it and let it sit and peel it off. And then I've cut my 4 pieces, and I'm doing sort of a pyramid effect on my roof. You'll see when it's all put together, but I'm just showing you the basic steps. So that's just a little piece of Scotch tape to keep it together while it glues, and I'm putting a dowel into my seams, and I do all 4 of those, and then I put it off to the side to dry. Now here's the front door. Well, I cut out the front door and I lay down bamboo sticks to create that, but we'll come back to that. There it is. And I let it dry, and then I cut them off. And on the rooftops there, I've got 2 pieces there. You'll see I'm adding bamboo skewers to the outside corners as well. And then I made my windows. These are with bamboo pieces from a placemat, basically. And I use those to make my flower boxes. I use those to do the arch that's going to go on there. And I'm just cutting out a whole bunch here because you don't need to see these things like being filled in and drying and all that. But basically, I'm using these bamboo pieces from that placemat to build all of my elements. So there's a window. Now, this is just white glue I'm using, by the way. I glue it to the bottle, and then I take white glue and yellow and orange paint, and I'm filling in the window area, right? Now here is my pathway on the as we're walking up to it. It's just cardboard, which I drew like a stone pattern on. Now I'm gluing my arch on, and again we're going back to making that window portion out of white glue and acrylic paint, and it's very effective. Now these are all pieces of cardboard that are like pieces of wood basically, and I go around tediously gluing these all around the bottle, fitting them around the windows and the doorway. And then once they're on there and dried, I go over them with the coat of Mod Podge because I need to make sure that they stay on. So here's my base, and I did the porch in the red, and I did the roofs in this red. They don't stay that color though. And then I take a brown and I go over all of my wood on the house. But I'm not going to show you all my layering, but basically, because it depends on what color you would do anything, but I do brown, and then I do sort of a washed out brown, and then I do a white over it. I layer all of my colors to get it to the wood effect like you're seeing there. Now notice I have a purple marker because I'm doing all of my slats and everything with a purple marker. I did not show it, but I painted all of the door windows and all that with the purple. There's the door painted purple. And I use purple in all of my highlighting. Everything I highlighted, from the roof darkening spots to the roof parts. Now I'm going to build a fence, and this is super easy. I just take 2 of those pieces of bamboo, I'm just going to say that, dot the glue, and then put my piece on. Now this is the tree, and those are coffee filters, and that's white glue and water, and I'm just scrunching them in there, squeezing it out, and building my base. But then I'm going to take a toilet paper roll after I get sort of a base with my roots sticking out, and I cut it so I can make it smaller, and it becomes my trunk, and I just sort of glue it over that base there take some more of my coffee filter paper mache, wrap it around that, and then let it dry overnight is basically what I did. Now, after it dried overnight, because I needed that base to be good and sturdy, and you can always add more glue, right, if you don't feel like you've got it too watery or something. This is, I just painted on a brick design, but how effective, right? There's my little porch. And here are the signs that we're going to put on the windows. Just a piece of cardboard that I cut out in the shape of a piece of wood, and I painted them brown, gave them some highlights, and then I write beware on them, which we'll come back to. Now this is a white gray. It's got a lot of purple in it. Everything had hues of purple because it makes the whole project cohesive. And I go back and I paint in all my stones. Again, I layer. It's like brown and white and watered down purple. Now the next day I take a stem from a pick and I glue it into my base there, and this is going to become the tree arms basically. This is the cap from the actual bottle, which I make like the flue on top of the roof. This is a very, very dark purple, same purple that I've used on the windows and the doors to paint that fence. This is foil off of a bottle that I saved, and I just cut it to make my cute little hinges. I round out the corners. I use my pliers there to give it a good little fold to be the hinge, and I glue them onto the door using some E6000. I found some here in Mexico, believe that? Anyway, so I just glued those down, but you can see it was the perfect little shape. There you go. Yeah. I did not show the, I'll go over the doorknob when I come back after this. Okay, so then I just take little dots on toothpick to put on the hinges. I write beware with a pen first, so I make sure that fits on there. Then I go over it in purple, and then I go over it in yellow. And you might wonder why the layering, you guys, because the eye, it's more pleasing. Like, the more you can layer, the better. Because there'll be pops of that purple punching out from behind. Now I'm in the little dabs of glue. We're going to glue that beware over it. Look at that. And look at the windows, my glue and paint. We're going to finish that tree with some more coffee filters wrapped around these branches now. And then I stuck that out in the sun to dry. Then I took a dowel and I wrapped my lights around the dowel. Now I want to be able to put those lights inside of there. So I figured the best way to get them all on was to take a dowel, which fit in the bottle perfectly. I wrapped the lights around it. I taped it at the end. And this gave me even distribution of my lights inside the bottle. Now, this is watered down purple. I use brown. I use watered down purple. I have a thing of paint off to the side where I keep cleaning my brushes, which is this dirty purple water, but it's amazing, there it is, for giving me these purple nuances in everything that I did here, but especially on the tree. But I use it on my ground after I put my coffee filters, which is right there. The ground is white glue and dried coffee filters, used coffee filters. I mean coffee filters, coffee grounds, sorry. And it worked perfect for looking like a dirt yard. So again, it was just white glue, and then I poured my coffee filters over it. Sorry, I'm off screen here. But I just, there you go. I just put coffee grinds on my white glue. I let it dry. After it dried, by the way, I sealed it with hairspray to get it to stay. And where do I go next after this? I stayed on the coffee a bit longer than I did everything else, huh? Notice, see all the purple in there, you guys? That's the big thing I want to tell you about this, is that it's important to get that purple in everything. You're going to watch me decorate this and glue it all together. So while we're doing that, I'm going to give you a little music trivia. All right, so the Monster Mash is a 1962 novelty song by Bobby Boris Pickett. And so he, interestingly enough, he was the portrayal of Boris Karloff's Frankenstein monster inspired Pickett to write and sing the song. Now in 1962, it was the #1 single on Billboard Hot 100 chart from October 20th till 27th, of course, right before Halloween that year, right? But what's really interesting is that it has sustained a lasting impact in various recordings, from films and re-releases and so on and so forth. But in 2021, nearly 60 years after its release, Monster Mash re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 chart at number 37. And as of 2023, the song was generating $1 million annually in royalties. Go figure. So there you go. A little trivia about a song we all know, the Monster Mash, which is 62 years old now. Well, almost 63, I guess. There you go. Back to the crafting. This is a sign that I'm making for the entrance to our little house layout, which you're going to see here in a second. And I just wanted to talk about this for a little bit. So I've painted it purple, and then I gave it highlights of the darker purple around the edges and whatnot. But I wrote it out in marker, and then I'm going over it with yellow paint because it gives it a layering effect, which is really important, especially when you're doing something like this. It's almost a cartoony effect, but for what I'm making here, it ties into the whole project by adding that yellow onto the lettering, and by having the marker right at first, easier to follow, and you get some shadowing on your lettering. And it says Emparejado Villa. Emparejado means haunted in Spanish, and villa, of course, it's a villa. All right, so we're gonna go right into a video now of walking you around this project so I can give you a little bit more information about it. And here we go. What do you think? Wait, what? Let's talk about this. There's the sign I just made, Emparejado Villa. So the arch there is made out of bamboo pieces that I soaked in water overnight, and then I glued 3 of them together and put them out in the sun to dry, held into the arch form. That's their coffee grounds down there, but you see some of those dark areas. I've added purple into everything on this. The original purple color is what's on the fence. It's a super, super dark, dark purple. But everything on here, the shadowing on the roof there is my dirty purple water. The stones got purple all over them. I used that dirty purple water for my tree all over it. I used purple to draw the lines on my house. I put purple in everything, but what happens, even right there, that's my light box. I didn't paint the very back. By the way, idea from Jade of Scrappy Junk Studio. She told me to do that. It was a great idea. But it was purple, and then I put silver over it. So I just added purple in everything. Now the reason for that is it's a more cohesive look to the eye. So it gives it this sort of whimsical feel because I've color coordinated everything, and although you may not see the purple to your naked eye, you see it. You just don't know you see it. Purple and yellow are really good complements of each other, so that's why the purple lights was so perfect. Look there, see? Even the painting of the foundation there, I just did faux brick painting on it. The details on this are really incredible. That weed stuff there is actually coconut shreds that I saved off coconut. Look at there's the little what are the hinges from my piece of foil stuff off a bottle. Anyway, why did I just call it she? Emparejado Villa came out super cool. I hope you guys love this.
Living in Mexico and we making loving back to me. I don't work at back ends up, love drew my besties come back and visit so Thanks so much, she lays me. I got emoji, drove to get that thumbs up. Let down my place states, come back and visit soon.
Okay, so here is Emparejado Villa in all of its glory. Okay, so I just gave you guys a little bit of a video about certain things about it, but I'm just gonna I just want to go over some key things, because first of all, this craft took me so long. These take a while, these bottle crafts. I mean, I think like 3 days, basically working on it in 3 days. So there's so much trash in here. These are little plastic things from like a roll of tape. This is, like I said, the bamboo skewers, but look at, like, see how the fence, it isn't all, some of them are broken off and whatnot. Let's just start at the back really quickly. So this is my light control. So these lights, I can change them. They can have different colored ones in there. I like the white myself, but I could, like in Halloween, it might be kind of fun to have them flickering and whatnot. All right, so Jade from, I think I said it on there, from Scrappy Junk Studio, she said on my last bottle, she's like, you should paint it silver on the back. And I was like, yeah, but that one I wasn't keeping. This one I'm keeping these on here because I want the colored lights in it. So I took her suggestion, which is really cute. So notice the break that I did down there. All of my weeds, everything, the weeds is coconut shred. And I got a coconut down here when we first got here. I dried it all out. I've used that coconut shred for so many things. And it's perfect for my little weeds. I'm gonna stand up. See this in there. You guys, my painting techniques are all about layering. I tell you that all the time. And this is, so I drew it out on cardboard. I glued it down, outlined it with marker just because it's easier to follow. It also gives me the shadowing on the sides of my stones, right? So just some cute little hints there. The roof, I love this roof. It's cartoonish almost. Why is that paper towel thing just sticking out to me so bad behind me? Let's move this way. Now we have a towel over here. Anyway, there's the paper towels back. But this tall roof, it's so sometimes if you do these things, it's almost like whimsical. You just gotta like over the top with everything. Like obviously this house isn't to scale. I mean, like but that's okay because it's just fun to make. So many other things that I could go on and on about, but if you have any questions about any of this, please put them down in the comments below. This is a cardboard base. This is all trash. The only thing that isn't trash is that these stupid ugly things that look like tumbleweeds, that was a pick that I got at the 22 peso store. Not sure why I picked it up because it was so ugly. Well, I ended up using it. It was great. The lights aren't trash. So that pick and the lights are about it. Everything else is trash. The sticks that I used on this, it was a placemat that I had taken apart for some other crafts, so I just had it in my craft supplies. So I guess, I don't know, it wasn't trash, or is it trash? Now, the coffee grinds for the dirt down there, how cool. But you guys, what you're not seeing it's hard to do this on camera, is that I add purple in there too. I take that dirty purple water and I just put it all over everything. So on the sides of the house, see this? That's marker. Like I painted it all, then I outlined with the marker. Now, why did I do that? So super easy to do with the marker. I used the purple because I'm trying to pop the purple out, even though you guys aren't necessarily, and look, I matched it today. This whole thing is purple and you're getting that. It's part of what makes it a more attractive piece. Anyway, okay, so enough about that. Do you guys love it? I think you're gonna. I love it. I'm not gonna show it to you. Let's just dive right in. What I will say is it starts with an empty bottle, glass bottle. Here we go. All right, so this is the roof for what is like the sunroom on this little vignette. You haven't seen it yet, but there's like not sunroom, a little greenhouse, sorry. Anyway, I make sort of a parasol-shaped roof for it. These are the wood mandala cutouts that I had 4 in this package, and I'm going to use them for the base of my design, basically. And I get all my elements ready for this bottle before I put it all together. And so I'm cutting out my cardboard for my windows, and then when I lay the shape over it, I cut the cardboard out behind the shape for my window portion. And this is the little greenhouse, which is a votive holder, and I have to put sort of a pole in there that's going to hold that roof. And the roof, I want to give it a little more style, like a little more intricacy to it. So I take this cap, I trace that out, and then what I cut out here I use as my guide for all the other sections. And you'll see there it is all cut out, and that's the shape. What you didn't see was me put white glue on there and some coffee grounds to give this a real textured roof, and I paint it with brown and black, and then I top it off with the deep purple in the end to make everything cohesive. And then I paint all of my wood pieces get painted this green, which is my accent color, and all of my cardboard elements get painted the dark, dark purple. And you can see I've got the cutouts for my glass portion, which is the window part. And the window part is white glue and that orange paint there. That's what I paint on the glass bottle to give it its window effect. Now I'm just marking where everything's going to go, and then I glue it all on. And then this is going to be the base for my entire project. And I'm just going to take a red marker and paint that unfinished edge there with a red. Red is a very Asian color used in a lot of Asian decorating, so we're going to just put a little pop in. And this is my wood tree cutout, which I'm going to sand down to give it a flat area to glue, and I'm going to paint. While I'm doing that and you're watching that, let me give you a little bit of music trivia. All right, so do you guys remember where the song is from? We are Siamese, if you please. It is from the 1955 movie, can I hear it? Lady and the Tramp. Now do you guys remember it? Lady and the Tramp, and it's the two Siamese, and the cats' names are Si and Am. I don't know where Ease is, but anyway, Si and Am are these two Siamese cats that just work in synchronization. Everything they do is exactly the same. It was really, I remember it vividly. And so Peggy Lee and Sonny Burke wrote that song, and then Peggy Lee recorded it. She did the voices in it, but she recorded it twice so that the Siamese would be synchronized in their singing, much like they were in the cartoon and all of their movements and everything. Okay, but here's where it gets a little funny. So in 2019, they decided to remake Lady and the Tramp, and guess what? They replaced that song. They decided they deemed it inappropriate due to the cat's accents. It's an accent. And the stereotypical facial features. They were Siamese cats. Has any of you ever owned one? My favorite kind of cat. Anyway, so it just leaves me to wonder, if you bought the movie now, the old 1955 version, would it have that song, the original song in it, or has it been replaced? I don't know. There's your music trivia for today. We are Siamese. So I was just showing you my bottle and all the elements that you didn't get to see me do. It's a very marbleized effect on the painting. And you can see I've shadowed all around my windows, and I just had a good time putting it all together, and I lost the footage. I apologize. But now I have to finish off the roof. I've got my cork lights, which are the lights that have a cork top on them. And I need to paint that because it's just the wrong color. So I give it that deep, dark purple paint on it. And I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to glue that in and glue my roof cappers on, which you just saw me making with the cardboard. And they have that rolled up little accent to them to match the roof. And then I got to put it all together. That's the best part. The best part is putting all the elements together after you get them all done. And I apologize for the parts that you didn't get to see. Like my little hinges there that are made out of the top of like a wine bottle, or my little beads that are my door handle, and the top are on my parasol. That's not my parasol roof on my greenhouse. All right, so I glued on the house, then I glued down my tree in the back, which you saw me. Painted the whole thing in that dark purple. By the way, that roof is masking tape. I'll explain. And then I take these little, as flat as I could find of these rocks, and I make my little path, and I glue those all down. They're permanently down. So there's a path from the house to my greenhouse. And then I get to decorate. Now, if you watch my channel, I did haul a bunch of new greenery from my 22 peso store the other day. Now, here's the thing. This is very important. It is those little touches that will make all the difference in the world on a project. So if you notice, the picks that I'm choosing, the greenery that I'm choosing is a very vibrant green because it accents and it brings out the green that is in my house, right? So it's really pulling out all those greens. And see on that roof how you can see that deep, deep purple, the greenhouse roof. By the way, there you can see in the greenhouse, and I didn't show the painting, but I did sort of frost that with green paint. Now I'm going to make my newspaper, so I have my very small print, but it's not thick enough, so I cut out some book page and I roll it. Once I've rolled it, I really start to flatten it so it folds more like a folded up newspaper. And then I'm going to glue that, and then I'm going to wrap my small print around it so that it looks like a newspaper. You can't see it, but there is sort of a headline on this. It's really cool. And then I go to wrap it in twine. I thought that was just more appropriate for this little setting. And eventually I undo it and pull my twine apart, so I just have one very thin piece of twine and wrap that around there. And the Band-Aid was just to hold it while I did that. And then I think it looks really cute. So I take the newspaper, Marcus's idea, which I did on my first house, and I glue it down. And then after I glue it down, I'm like, I don't know, that looks really stark white with everything that I've got going here. So I take my coffee stain, my instant coffee stain, and I've just got a little pick here, and I'm just barely putting it on there and wiping it off just to tone down that bright whiteness and give it a little more of a newspaper yellow color. That's it. Do you guys love, love, love? Because I do.
The singing crafty crafter living in Mexico with my cow Ferdinand. Time for a challenge using wood. Plug in the glue gun, clean up the brushes, grab a glass bottle, let's create. Thanks for
Okay, so hopefully I explained enough about what you guys missed, but I'm gonna pick it up and show it to you guys, and we're gonna talk a little bit about it. I know, Ferdinand, I know. Ferdinand keeps wanting me to make his barn. Maybe that'll be next, I don't know, but I'm working on it. Yeah, it's not gonna be big enough for you to get in. No, it's gonna be a miniature like I'm doing. So these houses, these bottle houses, I think are sort of my thing, and I'm really enjoying this. All right, so I just want to talk a little bit about it. So the wood, obviously, is my tree in the back. Isn't this beautiful? My tree in the background. I have little wood toothpicks here, which Marcus uses for his Bloody Marys. And all of these pieces are wood. Now, obviously, the bottle is not. I think this is MDF, so technically this isn't wood, but I did just haul this this week on my haul video. All right, so what you guys basically missed was all of my elements are cardboard other than the bottle, and on the house I'm talking about, other than the bottle and the wood cutouts, right? So you missed, this is just a little bead thing that I'm using for my doorknob and my topper here. This is cut out of the top of a bottle, which is metal, and I painted glue and acrylic paint over the window part in the orange. Now, this ended up orange and purple, and I gotta explain why. As at first I started to make it a haunted house, and it just ended up looking so Asian. I was like, yeah, no, it's not a haunted house. So I was like, I'm just gonna go with what it, sometimes that happens when you're creating. It speaks some other language while you're doing it, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's not what I'm seeing. So I ended up making this, what I absolutely, absolutely, absolutely love it. And then the painting, just so you know, it's this super, super dark purple like is here, and then I just blot white in it. You guys have seen enough of my painting to see how I do the layering, and again, I apologize that we missed that. The other thing, which I think I talked about, is that this is coffee grounds, white glue coffee grounds. Okay, so it lights up. I got my cork, this is the cork lights, so those are in there. And then this one, all right, I'm gonna show you this. I had to take apart, because I couldn't really string the lights into that part and not have it show. So I took apart a votive, and then I just have a little clippy. Do not try this at home. You can't electrocute yourself, it's hardly anything. So I just turn it on and off. And it works perfectly. And it was just, it happens. Sometimes when you're creating, you go like, oh, I didn't think about how am I gonna get the lights in there. So that's okay. We change course while we're creating, and then we go, all right, we got it. So, a couple of other quick little things. I love this tree in the background, but I want to talk to you guys about design, and I noticed this is crooked, so I'll fix it, but I was like, when I glued it on, I must have been looking at the wrong angle, but it's pretty easy fix. So, one of the things when you're designing is, do you see how it's at an angle? So our peak, and then we have our middle spot, and then we have our low spot. That is way more appealing to the eye. Versus if I had stuck the tree over here, then you would have had like this. Also would have given you a triangle, but it wouldn't have been as symmetrically pleasing to the eye. So by doing this, it is, and also I have the tree that's slightly behind this is like a greenhouse is what I'm saying this is. So anyway, I think it came out so incredibly good. And the roof there, masking tape. And I said to Marcus when I bought the masking tape last week, I was like, so I'm gonna try something with the roof. So, and I didn't get to show you this, but I will explain it and I'll do it on another video, is I took strips of masking tape about this long and I layered them. I layered probably 10 layers of masking tape because masking tape will separate from itself. It was painting masking tape, by the way, separate from itself pretty easily. So I laid them down and then I cut ridges in my strips like a roof. See that? I cut little ridges in it and then I just peeled it apart and put it on there and painted it. And then I curled up the sides of the roof. I just thought that looked pretty cute. Okay, and did I already say I have the cork lights in there, which is what I ordered just so I could have that. I love the stones as my walkway. And what do we see there? The newspaper, which I forgot to put on my last house, Saturday's house. If you haven't seen that one, you've got to go see Saturday's house. It's a haunted house. I'm going to put it right here because it's, I think, amazing. But every house I make, so this is my third one, I'm like, oh, I think I like it better than the last one. Oh, I think I like it better than the last one. Well, that's good. That means I'm liking where I'm going with this. So a couple of elements, I've been using cardboard as my base, and this was a chalkboard sign that I just hauled, and it worked perfect because of the shape of it. It lended itself well overall to the design. Now, one thing you may not notice is that the bottom of this one doesn't have the matching, like this one. It's got a top and a bottom. And that was because I actually had one more piece of the wood that I could have done that. But this is the outside window, so I felt like adding extra decoration was fine there. I didn't feel like it was necessary here. Just little things in case anybody notices that. And my little weeds and greenery and whatnot, you'll notice the choices. So this is a very vibrant light green because what it does is it pops the green that I've painted on everything else. These are really thought out choices. And then there's just a couple of little, right here, the little beads that I painted purple just to add a slight little dimension to my greenery. And I cut them way down so it's growing out of the stone. Anyway, and here's the back. Not that you need to see the back, but the back is also complete. So it's also very visually appealing. Okay, enough talk about that. It's, I'm kind of on a theme now for some of my crafts. Oh, my besties know what that might be. All right, I'm not gonna show you. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. It is a glass bottle base. What does that tell you? And you're just gonna have to watch to see what I'm doing. You're gonna figure it out pretty quickly. All right, so let's see how I made this. And then we'll come back because I need to talk to you about it and show you some different stuff. There is our glass bottle. And right now I am drawing on a door and a window. Whoa, now you know where we're headed, right? And then I'm going to take some masking tape. Now this is, I try to do these differently every time I do one just to give everybody lots of ideas. But I need to make sure the light doesn't show through on this except really in my window areas. And so I want to really darken it out. So I covered it in masking tape, and this also helps my paint adhere. You'll see why I need that in a second here. So after I've masking taped, I've taped, now I'm going to take some white glue and I put one coat on the glass areas. And then I take a yellow marker and I'm going to color over my my white glue. And then I'm going to put another layer of the white glue. This is going to give me almost like that frosted 1950s looking Waverly glass stuff. I don't know what you call it. All right. Now I'm going to cover this in, it isn't a styrofoam and it isn't a floral foam, which was part of the challenge. So this doesn't really count as a challenge item, although it is a foam. of sorts, a styrofoam of sorts, but it's very thin. So I'm going to cut it and actually cover the whole bottle. Now that's why I had to get that black paint, and I wanted really good coverage, so the masking tape first. Now I'm going to glue this on. It's kind of like Mod Podging this stuff on. Like, here's my little section. Let's put some wood glue. Now let's cover it in the foam. And then let's go to the other side. Anyway, and then I have to, of course, cut out my 2 windows. And I've already put a piece on the bottom, right? So this is just a rough cut because I can trim them up if I need to. And I'm just going to cut that out of there. We're going to glue it all the way down. I'm going to trim up the bottom. I actually put some glue in the gap down there. I trim that down, and I'm just going to like just slice this slivers so that I can sort of just pull it all together and glue it. You're going to figure out really quickly here what I'm making. It's all going to start to come together. So I'm just cutting that down into my little, petals, basically, and we're going to glue it. And then I lay one down, and then I put glue on top of the next one, and then put it down. So I'm just layering this all the way around, making sure that it all sticks together. And then I go get the little tiny hair Band-Aids, the super small ones, and I use those to put it on here and hold it all together while it's drying. I actually leave them on there. There's the little rubber bands. I think I put 3 or 4 of them on. Kind of gave them a little pattern with it, actually, like they were little stripes almost. But then I paint them, so I guess it doesn't matter. But they're like little indentations. Well, you'll see. And then once I get it all on there, I'm going to trim that top down all the way down to the top. I was going to stuff some of it, and then I realized, no, I got to put lights in there, so that won't work. There you go. And then I'm just going to just smother this with glue on the very top. Okay, and one more rubber band. Now, that's all drying and whatnot, which is, what I need it to do. I'm evening that out just so it would look symmetrically cool when I painted it. This is where I'm adding the glue on that seam back there. And now I've got silver paint. Are you guys, it's silver. What would I be making with silver paint besides what? What? Did I hear you? That's right, an Airstream. So, hello, mudda, hello, fada. Yeah, we're going to do a little camping scene here. So I have cut out my window and my door out of my cardboard, and now I'm going to paint it black. Now, this is really important because this is round, right? So I had to absolutely pick a thin enough cardboard that I could bend it around that circle, round part so that it would go on there and lay flat. Now this is styrofoam. Here's our first use of actual styrofoam. Now Airstreams sort of have a base on them around the bottom. It's sort of the lining on the bottom of the Airstream. Well, I'm going to use styrofoam for that. And so I'm just figuring this out, cutting it. I'm going to trim it down, get it down to where I want it to be, and then I'm going to paint it black. I do leave a gap on the front side of the one you'll see here in a second where I did 2 pieces so that I could add my stairs to the Airstream. And the whole reason I ended up using this styrofoam because it just seemed, it was like the right length to cut it out and have the curvature on there. I was like, what are the odds? So there you can see I have 2 pieces for the one side because that's going to go before and after the door. Now this is my base, and it's 3 pieces of cardboard all glued together. I've painted it already with black initially. I do black and brown and tan mixture while that's drying. I've glued my styrofoam onto the bottom of my Airstream there, and there you go. Now we're painting that whole bottom half the black, right? That line doesn't have to be perfect because the stairs are going to go there. Now we're going to glue on the door. By the way, the little hinges there, those are clothespin springs, and they just worked perfect for this sort of space-agey looking hinge. I just love the little hinges. And the yellow from my window thing was perfect. All right. I have no idea what I'm painting here. Oh, the 2 little dots. I'm going to make the wheels. And these are just little sticky dot things, and I'm painting them silver to put inside of my caps. Those are just bottle caps there. But they were the perfect size, and they were black, and they were round, and I could put a hubcap little thingy bob around them there, and they look just like a wheel. Then I took 3 skewers and glued them together to be my, what do you call that? Yeah, axle, the rear axle. We're only putting 1 set of wheels on this because this is a pull-behind RV. And I'm gluing it, and I added some like super glue, E6000, I think I actually added on there as well, is the hot glue gun to hold it in place. That little circular pull tabby thing comes from a badge holder. Like, I'm sorry I was out of frame there. Now we're going to add some more dimension to our base. Remember, I started with the brown and black, sort of a tan. I'm adding lighter colors now, but the base color gives me that dimension. There's things seeping through there that's going to give it, it looks like there's raised and lower areas. There's my piece of the garbage, not garbage, the grocery reusable bag that busted, and my brush still has brown on it. I've told you guys this before. I always have a thing full of water when I'm creating, and it ends up with sort of this color of everything on it. And the color today is there's a lot of brown and black, so just darker tones. And so I just use that water whenever I can. And it took that white on the rug and brought it to a different color. Now I'm building my telephone pole. So this is pretty simple, right? Wood glue, do my crossbars, and there's my little, what are they called? The things on a telephone pole, transistors? Anyway, and I put the other little cross pieces of wood on there too. And there's my brown yucky water, but it's like the perfect stain, and all it is, it's the clean my brush off for everything during this project in that water. Now I took some masking tape after that color dried, because you can still see the green coming through, right? It's perfect. And I'm just adding some decorative stripes like a rug would have. And then when I had it, by the way, I sort of followed the colors that are on my paper plate so that everything would sort of match. Now I'm going to put a little fraying on the end of this rope, and so I'm taking some twine and we're giving it a little border right there at the end, and that's just regular Elmer's glue. It's not Elmer's, but it's white glue, and then I taped it down to dry. There's my piece of paper plate that is going to be my awning. See the colors? And since the paper plate, because it was the only paper plate they had at my 22 peso store, it was a Harry Potter, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to use the colors that it's already in. Now I've got my E6000 there, and I'm just gluing on my little transformers. And I think I told you guys those came from like a little tape dispenser thing from my scrapbooking. Okay, then we're going to trim off the string on this, and I'm going to fray the ends just to make it look more like a rug. Everything is very miniature, right? So I'm just going to cut. That's going to fray that. And we're going to have our nice little outdoor rug. Now, this is Marcus making me my stairs, and that is a tuna can lid. I just don't have the strength because of my arthritis, and so he took my needle nose, and I had gave him a template for what I needed the stairs to be. So he copied that, and he made me my little aluminum stairs for my Airstream camper. Like, that looks so easy when he does it, right? I couldn't. It's like, perfect. And then I just take some E6000 and I glue that on. See, now you can see why there's a separation in the foam around the base. Now, Airstreams come with rivets. They come with more rivets than I put on here, but I'm like, I didn't need to put the gazillion rivets on there. So I just put some in the front and the back. And then I just use E6000 to glue down my RV because we're going to make it stationary. And I'm getting to the fun part where I get to put everything together. By the way, that is a Tabasco sauce lid that I've put a dowel in, that I put a screw on, that I put a little stapler on to make my hitch for my Airstream. And then I took some chain from a little sign that I had that had like a chain hanger. I took it off there, and I'm giving my, I don't know what you call these on an RV, but it's the little chain part, you know, by the hitch. Safety things. Anyway, now I'm gluing down my telephone pole. I'm going to put my awning on with just a little bit of glue. And you saw me, I just brought the colors down on that awning just by sort of whitewashing it a little bit. And now it's not so, you know, bright and shiny. But see that yellow there? It's like the perfect caution yellow. Now, I don't know how many of you watching this are actually campers, but you have something, a chalk that you put behind your wheels, and that's so that they don't, so it doesn't roll away. Actually, now that I think about it, probably should have been in the back, but whatever. I make two little chalks because that yellow is so perfect. I take a marker, color the inside, and then I glue it into a triangle, and I pop one under both of the wheels. And that's another use of my paper plate. So far we have the awning, and we have the little chalks for the wheels. And there's my second one. And here comes the extension cord. Now we're going to have some fun because I'm going to use as much of this as I possibly can. So first things first, we're going to cut that off. I end up cutting it all the way to the base. I don't need any part of the cord there. And I'm painting it silver, and then I dirty it up later on with my dirty water so that it gets an old look. and I'm letting that dry. Now here's the paper plate. See, it's Harry Potter, and I cut the very center out because we're gonna make a table. And there's another use of my paper plate. And I trim it down a couple times because I kept thinking it was too big. Then I take apart some more clothespins, and now these are gonna be the legs on my table, right? Yes. Okay, so I just hot glue those on, and I do trim down the table one more time, so it just ends up being too big. But before I do that, I believe I take the old dirty water. Oh, I'm sanding around the edges just to make sure it's nice around. Then my old dirty water that's off to the side there, and it becomes the stain on my table. Now that was another piece of a tape dispenser there, and I'm gluing in the plug end of my extension cord, not the plug end, I don't know what you call this end. Anyway, and that's going to be the base, and that's where you plug your RV into, right? When you pull up to an RV space. And there's my dirty water, and I'm just dirtying up my plug there. This is some of the extension cord, which I ripped into two because it's got two wire parts together, and so you can take that apart. And I'm pulling the wire out. I'm just trying to get the wire out of this because I'm going to make the poles for my light holding poles in the front of my RV. So far in the extension cord, I've made the plug for the plugging into my RV into, and I've pulled the wire out, and this becomes the wire on my light pole, and then the casing of the wire, the white part, becomes the cover on my poles out in front. By the way, I'm taking little cut in half staples, the big staples, and I've put them into the ground, and now I'm going to use string to like tie off my poles like they do, right? It's the little details. Anyway, now I'm going to get my lights in there, but I'm going to paint this side of it because it's going to be underneath on the back side of this RV, and if you look a certain way, you could see that side of it, so I just painted it silver so it would blend in better. I'm going to hot glue it down, and I'm going to run my lights first. There's the staples. So this is just a piece of cardboard that had heavy staples in it, so I took them out because I cut one in half, and I made the little hooks for holding my lights on the RV. I poke it in there, give it a little bit of glue, and it becomes like it's part of the RV to hold my lights. And then I wrapped my lights around a dowel because they're way too long and the lights aren't close enough together. So I have to bring them closer together. So the way to do that was to spiral it on a dowel, and then I had the lights were all closer together. I think that makes sense. Yeah, it has to. And I had thought that I would use part of the extension cord to wrap these around, and then in the end, it was too white, so I decided not to do that. Like putting the extension cord on the inside to wrap the lights around, it wasn't necessary, and it sort of took away from I don't know how to explain it. It didn't look right. Okay, so there I'm just stringing my lights onto my RV where I've put my little half a stapler in there, my little stapler hooks, and then I'm going to put them onto my poles. And now I'm going to make a little lounge chair, so just taking two, I sort of cut it in half, and then I can sort of lean it, and I did give it a clothespin leg, and then that was the part of the little dispenser that I'm using for the cover of my plug-in. You know how it flips open on RVs? And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut it in half because it's just too big to be it's actually too big to be the cord. The scale on this isn't perfect, but that's okay. But I'm going to cut off the little plug there, and then I'm going to have a flat side that I can just glue to my faux plug-in station there at the RV. So I have to clean this up, cut the wires and all that, but there we go. Now I can see, plug it in there, and I'm going to glue it on there. And then I'm going to take that plug that I just cut off. We're just going to bend down the sides. I'm going to paint it black, and I'm going to put it on the back of the RV like it's, I don't know, it's holding something, propane, luggage, I don't know. It was just like an extra thing. Then I took that old dirty water because I had like a lot of black on my paint at one point, on my brush. And I was like, oh, I'll give the table a little stripe like I did the rug. Okay, now this is a piece of extension cord, which I've put it together in a circle. And then I put a bottom on it, put some plants on it. That's my plant on the table. Now that's my that's a little log, which I'm gluing down because when you go to an RV spot, there's always like, you know, they separate the spaces by logs. Now I'm going to glue in my extension cord. Let's plug in the RV. And here's my little barbecue, which is a bottle cap, a Colgate top, and some staples as the handles. And I cut stakes out of cardboard. Yeah, because the red on the Harry Potter plate was like steak red. Now I have made bricks out of styrofoam and I glued them all together, and now I'm going to paint them. And I'm just taking like red and some white and all that. I just faux painted my bricks. There's the top of the Colgate, which I put in paint and put it down there so I would know where to cut an indentation so I could put it in there. I stuck all of my dowels that I broke apart into that dirty water so they could become my logs. Now I'm putting some white glue down and adding some little rocks. I'm going to make a little planter area here. These are just itty bitty little gravel pieces basically. So we're going to add some greenery to our spot here. I'm not sure what I'm doing there. I'm gluing my fire pit down. And then I took the greenery plants and I made like flames out of it. If you look at the video of it close up, when we're done here, you can see like the little flames. And there's my stack of logs for my fireplace. And I'm going to glue in my little flames right here, which is just plants that I painted orange and red and yellow. We're going to add some more rocks around our fire pit, so white glue and putting down some more gravel. And then I took 3 copper stones that I had and I just dabbed on black and gray and brown to give them more of a rock color. And now I'm going to make a hose. This is like my favorite thing, I think, actually, of the whole project. Now, that is a twist tie from something, but it was like silver. And so I was like, it looks like the end of a hose. And so I just started wrapping this to make it look like a hose. Does not look like a hose. And then I just take my green and I just started whitewashing, greening it up. There we go. There is the whole thing all together. There was a lot. But if you have any questions about, just put it down below onto what I made here. All right, here's some trivia while you look at my finished project here. Trivia about Auld Lang Syne. So it's such a iconic song that we sing it every New Year's, and I don't even know for how many years, but it's a beloved Scottish song, and it was adapted by Robert Burns, and of course it's traditionally sung at New Year's Eve to remember old friendships in the past year. Now its title means old long since, or for old time's sake. And it's obviously a nostalgic, you know, cherish the memories kind of song. So Auld Lang Syne, A-U-L-D, Lang Syne, literally means old long since. And the core idea of the song is, you know, just don't forget about your old acquaintances and to recap shared adventures and take a cup of kindness to honor long-standing friendships. So Robert Burns was a Scottish poet, and he adapted the song in 1788, preserving it as part of Scottish culture. So it's a Scottish song. It's based on older folk songs with the phrase appearing in literature as early as the 17th century. So globally, on New Year's Eve, it's a traditional song that you sing at midnight to mark the end of the year, right? It also serves as, you know, farewell at like funerals and graduations, scout jamborees, interestingly enough, and other events. But here's what's really interesting, I think, is that in Japan, stores in Japan play it as a gentle signal for customers to finish shopping and leave. Isn't that interesting? So if you're shopping in Japan and the store is going to close, suddenly you hear, "Heard old acquaintance be forgot." I don't know. I think that's quirky and a really fun bit of trivia about Auld Lang Syne. So there's what I know about Auld Lang Syne, our traditional New Year's Eve song. I know you guys are still singing it in your head, and I hope you're enjoying my projects here. All right, back to the crafting and finishing up this video. as fast as I could because this took a lot of time. So you notice I gave you that little video that talked about the different elements that I made with the things, that the extension cord, the styrofoam, and the paper plate. So I've incorporated them all into one. Hold on, I forgot to turn it on. So I'm gonna show it to you with Christmas lights because I actually think this is kind of cute. Look at that. I know it's pretty lit in here, but that's okay because you can see all the detail. I gotta tell you, I have so much fun playing with and trying to figure out ways to make, you know, the different stuff. Like for instance, this, which looks like where the dump station at an RV park, you know, where you go dump the dump. Yeah. Anyway, but it is the top of the Colgate lid, which is the barbecue. And I had to slice this part off on the inside of it where you squeeze. Now look at it, see? You squeeze toothpaste out of there. Anyway, so it's just so much fun. Like this little thing that I put up there, because it looks like a light, it was part of a tape dispenser or something. I don't know. I've been doing all this scrapbooking and the double-sided tape roller things I keep ordering because I use a lot. And then I save them and I tear them all apart. Yeah, like this right there for the little flap for where the cord goes in to plug in your RV. That's from a little tape dispenser. Anyway, I just think this came out so cute. Look at the little, there's even little utensils on my barbecue and the steaks out of cardboard. I love my rug. Marcus came home, and he was last week, and he'd broken the handle on one of our grocery bags because you have to take your own grocery bags in here in Mexico. And I was like, yep, I'll take it. I'm gonna craft with it. And so I did cut some out there. What the light post, right? So these little doohickeys here, oh, I see a glue string, which I thought I'd gotten them all. These little doohickeys right here, also part of the tape dispenser things. I have like this little place where I just throw all these little things, and then I just search through when I'm trying to find something. Like look at the little stoppers on the wheels, that's made out of paper plate. Because the paper plate that I got, the Harry Potter one, had these, I just ended up going with it. I'm like, I'm just gonna follow that color scheme and use it for my whole theme. All right, so do you love my Airstream? When I took the photos, I didn't have the paper in there, or did I add one? Anyway, I was like, oh shoot, I have to put the paper in. So that's not really a paper, it's the newsletter for the RV park. I just thought I'd let you know, don't be confused. It's the newsletter for the RV park. Okay, so you guys gotta let me know what you think of this one. Okay, so what did you think? Those really are my favorites, but what I wanna know down below is which one of the four was your favorite? I think for me, it really is the, I think it's the haunted house. Now, maybe because I love Halloween, it's one of my favorite holidays, I don't know, but I absolutely loved that, that particular bottle house. All right, now, I'm gonna sign off here. I'll be back. I'm trying to get back into some crafting for you, obviously doing Dollar Tree hauls. But I hope everybody had a fabulous 2025, and I hope 2026 is going to be amazing for you. And those of you who have stuck with me all this time, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I realize it's been a little shoddy, but that's what happens when you follow your husband who travels all the time for his work. All right. So, happy New Year, everybody. Should old acquaintance be forgot, I'll never forget you. Thanks for sticking with me. And what do I always say? Happy hunting at your local Dollar Tree. Toodles. See you next time here on The Singing Crafty Crafter.